Alrighty, so I'm going to do a presentation today on, we're going to transform an old paper-based process. So it would be like, got something like this, and we're going to transfer it into something that's like this. So it's called Transforming a Community Engagement Program into a Modern Web App, and it's for the Maribyrnong City Council. So yeah, first, my name's Lucas Hodge. I'm the director at Media Insights, insights.net.au, and you'll find me online generally as lucas.hodge, but some of you may also know me as Luke Hodge as well. So, Media Insights, I started Media Insights 14 years ago, but been in Melbourne and Victoria for the last 10 years, and been working with a number of government. We've been working with the City of Melbourne, we've worked with a few other local councils as well. We've worked with the EPA Victoria, and been working with Drupal for the last 9 years. So been working with Drupal since 4.7, so quite a lot of experience with Drupal. We currently look after like over 120 sites in Victoria, so we've been working with a lot of Victorian-based organisations. So today though, I'm wanting to make a few key points. Like John was just talking about Gov CMS, and we know Drupal is a good CMS platform, but I'm wanting to make out a point that Drupal is also a good framework for building web apps as well. It's not just, it's a good framework for building web applications that maybe not just in the CMS space. So we've got a traditional organizational site, but we can also build sites and other custom processes, surveys, other forms, other sort of community engagement processes using Drupal as well. So the second point's a little bit similar to that as well. We can, even though we're building an application, we know Drupal is actually a good content management system as well. So we can make our apps content managed, or parts of our applications more content managed than if we were to just go and build them in, some custom process. In this use case as well, I'm going to show how Drupal can be used for doing sequential processes as well. So instead of it just being a website with multiple pages that people can browse, we can take people through a journey, like a user journey, through a sequential process as well. So this presentation, we'll go through these steps in this presentation, but before, I'm keen to sort of know a little bit more about you guys as well, whether there's, you can put your hands up multiple times. So how many people here are sort of project managers or managers, communications managers, people that would be sort of looking after projects, trying to deliver projects and stuff like that? So yeah, it's a pretty good number of you actually. And then how many people are sort of designers, like interested in site design, UX design, IA design? Yep. And then how many people are developers, people that are building sites? And yeah. So yeah, we've probably got more people that are actually, managing projects here. So yep. So cool. So the introduction to this project, the pen and paper has obviously been, one of the greatest tools around, but I think the web browser is becoming has become the most widely, available application framework that we can use. So there's never been a better time to build web applications, I suppose. So the program that the Maribyrnong City Council has been running for the last 5 or 6 years has been a paper-based process. It's like 40 pages. It looks something like this. They engage with their residents. The people have to either print this out, download it or something. They have to go through and understand, how to do this program over a 4-week period. They have to go through, part of the program involves them reading their meters, collecting that data. They have to also calculate some of these things by hand. They have to fill out a booklet. It's a bit old school in some of the ways that's doing it. They also have to go through and read through a number of actions and then maybe commit. They're trying to learn about certain actions that they can save money, save energy on through the program. So they have to go through this 40-page booklet and try and do that. So early on in the process, I sat down with the client and we were like, what things could we do? How could we convert this into a more modern process? And obviously a web and mobile based app was the first thing that came up. And we explored different survey processes, and we explored maybe other tools that could be used as well. But in the end, we decided to explore how we would build a sequential guided process. Like, how can we take the users through a step-by-step process of the thing instead of them having to like read 40 pages first before they understand it. Obviously, that would make it easier for the participants, and hopefully it would make it easier for the user to collect their data, but also for the council to collect data as well, because it'd be all web-based. So how do we do this? So we're moving into how we designed the site. And actually, I probably should say we're in process at the moment of building this application, so we haven't finished it. We're sort of halfway through the project with the client, so we're still evolving things as we're going. But we'll show you what we've done so far. And yeah, there's probably different ways that we could do this as well. So we're just going to show you how we've done it. It might be of interest. There's probably better ways that could be done as well. So the design's largely about the constraints for how we do things. It's like if we know our constraints, we can optimize the application, optimize the website to suit the constraints. And for this particular site, we wanted to have a step-by-step process. It needed to be time conditional, like the user would need to fill out certain information at certain points in time, and then they might have to wait a week before filling out other parts of the process. So it had to be a step-by-step, but it was also conditional to time. The admins really wanted to have control over the questions and the data and be able to change some of that data as it evolved and add data to it. So they wanted a high level of control over their data, which makes it interesting when you're trying to build a form. They also wanted to have a full and express mode. So they wanted to have the option for the participants to choose going through the full process, but then have an express mode where they'd skip certain steps. So they had to have the options for that. And obviously notifications and reminders around when they needed to do what in the step-by-step process. Obviously, HTML5, timelines, budgets, all those other constraints. So initially, the client, after sitting down with the client and taking a look at this, we came back with a bit of a storyboard of what we were trying to do, and it was like a first rough attempt at how the process would work. And at that stage we were still looking at doing it over a 4-week period, and it had, you can see on the left there's a full challenge mode, and then there's an express challenge mode. But we then moved in to so the process that we used to go through the design, we look at the information architecture. We did some prototyping. We looked at storyboarding and wireframes in more detail, and then we looked at the graphic design. So I suppose these are the more deliverable sort of parts that we went through the process with. In the information architecture phase, we generally define the different content types, the different entities, different user profiles. So we sort of map out all the different structures of the site. There's different user roles, what all the roles are, all the permissions, different display modes, and the sort of maybe key functionality that needs to take place as well. So we put all that into like a Google Doc that we can share. We use like Trello and other things to like project manage it with the client. So we could like liaise on the IA and sort of refine that over time. In this project though, we had a lot of unknowns. Like we didn't know how we would solve certain things, whether design-wise or whether development-wise. So a lot of prototyping was done in the first couple of weeks or more. We'd sort of build a site, destroy the site, build something, test something, blow it away again. So the way we did this, we'd sort of take one of the major functionalities that we were trying to achieve, and then we'd try and find some modules or other ways that we could do this, or we might need to do some graphic design and work out how things looked. And then we would test one thing, then try and test the second thing, and if that failed, then we would have to go back and find another approach to building it. So eventually we were able to also then storyboard like all the processes. So we basically came up with a new storyboard with all the different steps. I think we've got 15 steps at the moment, so we sort of mapped out what each step would look like and what were all the key actions and things that need to take place on each of the steps. So we know everything that needs to take place for the step, and we'd go back to the client. We'd revise how this would work, make sure it tested well with the users and stuff. So we also did some initial wireframing of just how it would look either in mobile or in desktop and stuff as well. Then we also looked at graphic design. We did some more graphic design work for mobile and desktop. We decided to use like Bootstrap as a framework. It wasn't too much effort to do the graphic design for this one. So it was just, looking at using Bootstrap. We'll probably come back and do some more graphic design later on as well, and sort of revise some of the details. So yeah, at the moment it's kind of looking something a little bit like this. I can show you a demo on the side a bit later as well. We've got sort of stepping processes where the users can fill out the information in different steps, and different steps have different information conveyed to the user. So yeah, moving on to the development, some of the modules and the things that we've used in this site. The development process, I won't go too much into that, but we're using pretty standard sort of like Git for keeping track of things. We're using features to build it, and we're using Jenkins for deployment, and like I mentioned, using Bootstrap and Sass for the framework. So with this site here, we're using the main challenge that we had to solve with having the step-by-step process was solved using view modes per role. Initially, we were thinking of like having it. I'm probably going to get too technical here. So yeah, the view mode per role enables us to have steps. So each of the steps in the process, once we've defined all the steps enable us to have. We can create different display modes, and then Drupal allows us to have different viewable areas or different nodes that can be edited as well. So in this project, we've able to have, if I go back to here, the top section up here where it says step 5 information, that's all controllable by the client. And also the types of questions, referenced emissions, energy, gas, and stuff like that, that's also a node that is connected to an entity. So we're able to allow so we have nodes and entities that are connecting the so we're able to separate the question data from the users data so that they can fill out things, and but also the admins can still edit and control things as well. Is it best that I maybe show you quickly the site? So yeah, as I said, it's still a work in process. We sort of it's kind of like a progressive load JPEG or something. We've been sort of taking something and then refining it over time. There's been quite a lot of unknowns. It's been quite a fun process trying to like work out the storyboard, work out the different steps, and we kind of keep making it more detailed as we get through it. So let's do sort of like Tim. So we're going to do a lot more things. Like we're going to have like login via Facebook and other things later on as well. But enables the user to choose like full mode or a challenge mode or express mode. There's a progress bar that shows them where they're up to. So initially here, it's sort of asking them like have they done certain actions before, so they can tick that. We've got sort of explanations on how they can read their energy meters and stuff like that. Then certain points in the process require them to like wait another week to come back, so they would depending, it doesn't matter which device they're on, they could log out, come back. It'll send them reminder emails at the relevant time to come back and do the process. So eventually they would come back. Oops. So they're now in step 5. The surveys, as you can see now, it's only got 2 lines and not 4. So we're able to, based on what they've done previously, it sort of knows where they're at, and it's like, all right, you've previously only filled in your energy and gas, so all right, now you don't need to fill in those other ones that you did before. And similar again with these actions, like the first part, it'll give them calculations here, so it'll say this is how many emissions you're making. Obviously we did it in 10 seconds, so they've made a lot of emissions if they've, done that in the last 10 seconds. But so in this step 7, it's asking them what they would like to commit to. So it's got more information in this screen. So it's showing them the impact of what different things they can do, and it's filtering it down. So based on what they said they're already doing, it's not going to show those things the second time round. So it's going to give them the other options, and they can tick which things they want to commit to. Ideally, we're going to have these, because each of these things here is an actual node. So in Drupal, that means it's a page, which means as an anonymous user, we can have all these resources around each action, but each action can also be, they can also sign up, register, and do a challenge. So we've got content, we've combined content that's just public content, but then they can register, sign up, and go through a challenge, step-by-step process, and then still interact and have their own values assigned to the thing. So we've got, so as a community, eventually they'll be able to, go click on the actions page or something, and then they could probably go through and explore actions, or an anonymous user can go through and explore all the different content of the site, but then they can have the application side where they sign up and interact with the same data. So so the Drupal system here is allowing us to have have a step. Every step we can put anything we want on that page. We can put information, we can have custom views, forms, we can have graphs, calculations, other things happening. So at every step, we could have any number of steps if we wanted to, and have a customized process. So, and going back to here, so let's go, sorry. Yeah, so we use some other sort of modules, like using a lot of the rules to calculate what happens to make people go from step to step. We're using a lot of the power of views to do all the different calculations there as well. And entity reference for connecting the question data with the user's data. Going back to the key points, just wanting to show that like a possible way of using Drupal, not just as your organizational site, but it can also be used for other community engagement programs or applications or other surveys sort of processes for collecting data. And that can also be content managed. And there's a sequential process that we've set up there. Instead of it just being a bunch of pages, it can be a step-by-step process as well. If you want to go check out, Klaus did a talk back in 2012 about using Drupal as an enterprise level framework. So you probably, there's lots of other resources online as well. Questions?
Is there any way to say by week 2, the average Maribyrnong citizen only use whitelabel?
Yeah, definitely. So in some of the later steps, I didn't get to that step, but actually quite a few of the steps are shareable as well. So we want to have, once they've said they're going to commit to the action, so from a behaviour change, they say, I'm going to commit to these actions, we're also going to have that be shareable as well, so they can share that to their friends and say, I've committed to do these changes, and then that'll get other people to come back into the program. There'll also we also want to have graphs and comparisons to like what's a standard resident have or what does the world have as well, and kind of give them the comparisons. Yeah.
I was just wondering if you had built in the reporting, so it's really great to gather all this data.
Yeah.
And the users kind of have some sense of what they've been input. What
Yeah.
about the council? Can they see something a bit more holistic?
Like what the rest of the users have got, like aggregated. Yeah. I think a lot of that's possible, and we haven't really got exactly to that yet. Like the council obviously wants to know a lot of data on what stages people are at and like aggregated stuff, but at this stage they haven't decided whether they're going to show that back to the user. But
not necessarily send back to the user, just for the
but to yes.
So you built this as an app as well as a website?
Yeah, it'll be
So
kind of both.
do you
Yeah.
have to do everything twice as far as you were saying about the nodes, say the questions and that sort of thing? Do you have to build it for the app and then for the website?
No, they're actually the same thing. So that so the admins can edit those nodes, and those same nodes will be what the questions will be based on as well. So
whether you're on a computer or an app, it's still drawing that same information, same nodes.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, so if you edit a node, if the admin goes to this like where warm close action, they can change all the details on that, the title, the summary. They can have a whole links or other references in that section, and that's then linked to the user's data or their questions. So any changes that the admin will make will be also connected straight into the app. So it's all content managed that way. Yeah. Yeah, it was quite. I think I've built quite a lot of other sites before where you build forms and the questions are generally connected with the answers. So when you build a form, you've got the question and then the answer connected. Whereas what we've been able to do with Drupal here is actually separate the two and have the questions separate, which I was trying to show here. So we've got the actions on the left would be nodes, and they can have fields like titles, descriptions, star ratings. You could have as many like fields as you want here, but then using entity reference, we can link it to the users, and then for every action, there's a reference to another one over here, and then we can keep the data separate. And then because these are entities, we can then use views to filter down, like show me all the things where they filled out in the commit stage, or show me all the ones where they, did something. So we can treat all their questions. We can look after all their questions using views, so the power of views, instead of having to build custom forms for everything. So, yeah.
How much of what you've shown required custom modules?
There's actually not really much at all. The progress bar needed just a small little module just to put out because it's based on their roles as well. So every step is based off the view mode per role. So every time they're in a step, they're in a certain role, and which is great as well because it means we've got all the permissioning stuff that we can do. So if they're in a certain role, we can lock down, what they have access to, and we just needed a little module to, turn that into a progressive slide, into a progress bar. There might be a few other little things, but there's not too much custom modules needed at all. So.
When you say roles, you mean built-in Drupal roles?
Yeah. So it's using the Drupal core roles. Yeah. So if they're in role 7, then they just go to the same. You'll see that it's the same URL on every page. If they're in step 8 or step 7, they go to that page, and view mode per role just goes. Let's go back to this one. So, whatever step they're in is determined by the role that they're in. And the role that they're in, we have a custom display mode using the Drupal display modes, or the view modes. And then for every view mode, we can use Display Suite to pull in like custom fields, custom views, whatever we want. So every step we can totally control.
So
how do I connect them here?
Yeah, the answer or questions.
So there's a node which has got all the questions in it, and then there's a separate entity which has got other fields in it, and I could have whatever questions in that, and then they're linked by an entity reference. So I suppose at a database level it's just a join or something, but which means I can, for action, turn off my lights, I can have a similar user action, and then that can have question data stored in that entity. So, yeah.
So is that easy for admin to manage his questions?
Yeah. So, go, whoops, sorry, looked out. Yeah, I won't show you. But yeah, basically you can just go to a node and edit a node. So for anyone that's used Drupal before, yeah, you just edit the content, change the fields, and they would change the, oh, sorry?
What about the questions linked to another question? So the steps, how do you manage the relationship? Because one question is actually if someone answers question 1 and jump to question 3, is that also managed by admin or?
Oh, the step process? Yeah, well that's done by the rules. So in theory, you could give access to the admins, but I'm probably not going to in this case because it might be a bit dangerous. So yeah. But yeah, we've also built it in, so we built it in features as well. There's been quite a number of other local councils that are interested in the project and sort of using a similar tool. So we're trying to build it in a way that it can be maybe a distribution or something that can be white labeled. So other councils could go, all right, use this tool and then put in their own like different question data, whatever they want to, because they can all control it. So yeah, we're trying to build it that way at the moment as well. Yeah. So yeah, hope that gives you some ideas around, it's not, Drupal can be a CMS, but you can probably do some pretty funky applications and survey processes and things with it as well. So cheers, thank you.